One definition of entrepreneurship is recognizing an opportunity and then taking advantage of it. And that always involves a little bit of risk. I want to tell you a little bit of a story about my youth, which is way back when. My folks did the very silly thing many, many years ago of buying a hunting and fishing lodge in northern Manitoba. And I grew up in a hunting and fishing lodge. There's not a lot of opportunities to get jobs, but there was one thing that I took advantage of. I recognized that opportunity. We had lots and lots of fishermen that would come up from the United States and catch fish. And as you all know, catching the fish is the best part of the whole experience. Cleaning them, not so much. So I was 6 years old, and I saw an opportunity here that I could get my hands dirty, and for 10 cents a fish, I could clean that fish. So when they came back to the dock at the end of the day, I had my little wheelbarrow, and I picked up their box of fish, and while they were in having dinner, I was cleaning the fish at 10 cents a piece. And it wasn't unusual for me to make $10 a night doing that. As a result of that, I was able to put myself through university by getting my hands a little dirty and a little slimy. But there was an opportunity, a little bit of risk. I could have cut myself. I still do that. But that, to me, was a little bit of the entrepreneurial spirit. When we started the Entrepreneurial Self program, I guess it's now 4 years ago, we started out thinking, well, we'll build this in the School of Business.
Has left the conference.
Because they're just down the road. We started out in the School of Business, and we realized very, very quickly that entrepreneurship is not just a business mindset. It's a mindset that every single person that wants to contribute to the economy of Nova Scotia will need to have. And when I talk about recognizing an opportunity and taking advantage of it, you think of what's just outside our front windows there on the waterfront, the Atlantic Ocean. Nova Scotia surrounded by water. That's an incredible opportunity for us over the many, many decades to come to recognize some opportunities there and take advantage of them. We have the shipbuilding contract. We have all kinds of other activity happening. But there's a real opportunity for our students here at Nova Scotia Community College to start to think about what they can do in the future. And it might not just be building a business or starting a business. It might be that they're an employee in a company, and if they have that entrepreneurial mindset, they should be able to take that same recognizing opportunities, taking advantage of those, and helping build their employer's company as well. So on that note, I just want to introduce one of our special guests. We're very pleased today to have Sandra McKenzie, who's the Deputy Minister of Labour and Advanced Education. She's responsible for higher education, which we fall into. And I think I'm safe on saying Sandra's a very good friend of NSCC. Sandra previously had been with the Department of Economic and Rural Development and Tourism, very much involved over the last few years in developing the strategy that we're all very familiar with, which is the Jobs Here strategy to build and grow the economy of Nova Scotia. So I'd like to welcome Sandra today, and I'd like to welcome everybody in the audience that's joining us and everybody that's streaming in. Thank you so much for coming, and entrepreneurship at NSCC is only just starting, and it will become one of the major foundations of how we build this province. Sandra?
Thanks, Bruce. I can barely see you. I can see the front row, so you'll have to continue to smile at me. So, no, thank you. So, some of you may wonder, why would a career civil servant have any, or what could a career civil servant have in terms of talking to you about entrepreneurship, and where does that come in? Although that video helped to clarify that a little bit, that we find entrepreneurs everywhere. But I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and I've given birth to at least one. So I know a little bit about it, and here's what I know. Entrepreneurship will be the way forward and the future of Nova Scotia, and that will happen within the businesses that we have, and it will be the businesses that grow out of the imaginations of the people in this room and beyond this room. And without that, Nova Scotia will not continue to compete. So we're on that. little precipice, and we have the opportunity to move forward, or we have the opportunity to just agree to be a community that provides other parts of Canada workers. And that's what we're choosing not to do. So I have a long presentation that I've given to the community college actually 2 or 3 times now. I'm not doing that for you today, so you can be comfortable with that. But one of the things that I do talk about in it is that there's 250,000 people a day that come over the poverty line in China. When they come over the poverty line in China, every day, they start to buy things. And Nova Scotians knowing what people in other countries are interested in buying will actually be the opportunities for us into the future. And those ideas will come from the research and development, from the minds of the entrepreneurs in Nova Scotia, from the imaginations, and from our ability to find our place in that kind of a world. So there is a ton of opportunity. So I have been working on the Jobs Here campaign, worked on the Ships Start Here campaign as a theme there, and and I'm now really pleased to be over with labor and advanced education in terms of helping to build the workforce that will carry us into our future prosperity. But a huge piece of that is making sure that we develop and grow the entrepreneurs into the future as well. Because here's what we know: businesses create jobs, and entrepreneurs create businesses. So that is key, actually, to our future success. So there is a debate on whether entrepreneurs are born or whether they're fostered. And I have my own theories that I believe some people are born entrepreneurial, and I believe all of us can be. Some people are born entrepreneurs, and we can all be more entrepreneurial. And an example of that in my own life is that no one else where I work has ever received this phone call, which was a phone call from my son's junior high school, my oldest son, who goes here to the Waterfront campus in business. And the call was that Evan had been suspended in grade 8 for 2 days for underselling chips out of his locker, underselling the vending machines. So I was like, that's brilliant. But it was frowned upon. In any case, we had a long conversation when he came home about what is it that you did wrong. Well, there's contracts that you need to recognize, and there's spaces that you contractually enter into in terms of selling businesses. But the idea that you had, learning how to harness those kind of ideas is really what we need positively into the future. And
has left the conference.
But I haven't, and I'm glad you're still here. So here's some of the things that we know that entrepreneurs need. They need access to research and development. Some very cool stuff is happening here at the Nova Scotia Community College. Great stuff is happening in the universities. We need to find ways for people to be able to take that research and development, and for entrepreneurs to be able to see what those opportunities are in the R&D that's happening, and be able to then commercialize those. So we need venture capital. And we recently started a regional venture capital fund to be able to invest in Nova Scotia, actually Atlantic businesses. It's extraordinarily important. Atlantic businesses were finding they had to compete into the Toronto markets and what have you for venture capital. So we're trying to make that key startup money more available for people. But we also need to connect people with brilliant ideas in existing businesses and in businesses that they're interested in working with people we call angel investors who exist in Nova Scotia and are interested in being able to be brought together. And that's something we're going to explore more in an innovation summit this fall. We also need great mentors. In fact, there's a book. I'm reading a couple of books. One is I would recommend for Christmas reading, everybody read Abundance. If you haven't read it yet, it's key for every entrepreneur, every person actually in Nova Scotia to read it. It's talking about why the world is actually getting better, and the difference between scarcity and abundance is technology and what those opportunities are into the future. But this is a book with a dramatic title called The Coming Jobs War. It's written by Jim Clinton. He is the head of the person that does the Gallup poll. And what he's basically saying is that the United States and de facto Canada will be saved into the future by entrepreneurs, by growing businesses and creating jobs in in Canada, and that what is really interesting is he's not talking about mega businesses. He's talking about that growth will come from small, mostly small, and medium-sized enterprises that will grow out of the minds of the people that we need to nurture in schools like this, in schools earlier in our public school system, and by giving people the supports and the mentorship they need into the future. One of the other things we have to become more comfortable with in Nova Scotia is accepting failure. For some reason, we're really quick to jump on it, and other cultures not so quick to jump on it. So we need to be really prepared to celebrate failure, to say, God, you tried that? That's absolutely awesome. It may not have worked, and for the most part, what we know is that failures happen to be a common part of people doing business startups. So that's important. In fact, Winston Churchill said, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And that's really actually the most important part of entrepreneurship. So our supports to startups. This is the Students in Business program, which helps students start their own businesses. The program offers business loans up to $5,000 for training and counseling to help students start and expand businesses. And since 2004, hundreds of Nova Scotian students have participated in this program, and the success rate is more than 90%. We also have small business startup loans through the credit unions all over the province that can do loans which we, as in the province, guarantee up to 90% to encourage more businesses to be able to start, particularly in rural Nova Scotia, where access to capital is really difficult. And there's also the Your Entrepreneurial Self program, which that's an awesome video, and if I can get a copy of it, that would be great. Known as YES, which I'm sure most of you are aware of the NSCC, and I'm actually confident everybody in this room is familiar with. We also have a number of supports to business. One of them is sort of a conversation that we have with business. A lot of entrepreneurs have fantastic ideas, but are not strong business managers. What you need to know is what kind of an entrepreneur are you, and then what do you need to surround yourself with in order to be successful in your business. And sometimes those are hard conversations, and some of the conversations that we're having. We have two other things I'd just like to tell you about. We've just launched online an HR for small and medium-sized enterprise, where people may not know how to manage people well. It's common in business startups, and these are tools for business people to understand how you actually hire staff successfully and keep staff successfully, because that is going to be the competition into the future. The other is there's a Skills Online piece that we've just announced. You can see it at jobshere.ca, which is 20,000 free courses for small and medium-sized enterprises that run everything from what do you need to know about occupational health and safety, what do you need to know about HR and other programs that can help you grow your business. So I've only have 10 minutes to speak, and so I want to close on something I think is actually pretty hopeful from this book. It says, what's the difference between entrepreneurship and innovation? And it's basically, this is the quote, "This is not to diminish the importance of innovation. It's just that innovation has little to no value until it's joined with entrepreneurship. Innovation itself does create sales. Entrepreneurship is the driving phenomena. The precious connector between innovator and customer is the almighty entrepreneur, the person who envisions a value and a customer and then creates a business model and strategy that creates sales and profit." So ultimately, it all comes down to the individual and what's held in their head and their ability to be successful. And we want Nova Scotia to be one of the most successful places to support entrepreneurs anywhere in the world, because that's where we're really competing in a global way. And that's from I'm really impressed with the people that you have actually selected to have here today, because they represent true entrepreneurism. So as I am inspired by this quote, which says, a goal is a dream with a deadline. And that's actually what's so important about the entrepreneurs, is that we need them to keep on dreaming in Nova Scotia, because you actually are the future of our prosperity. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie. I would like to invite Andrea Adams, first-year business admin student, to present a thank you gift to the Deputy Minister, please.
Thank you very much.
The speakers we have invited here today are not only inspirational, but have been where you are today. They too have been faced with the ups and downs of being a student. They understand the desire to have meaningful employment and to contribute to their local society. And they know what it is like to want to have control of your own future. Alumni are very important to the framework of NSCC. They are proof of our graduates' success. They share and mentor our students by providing their stories and are champions and advocates of the college. We also find a large number of alumni who have gone on to take their learning at NSCC and transform that into successful businesses. We wanted to share some of those stories with you in a video series that celebrates just that, local successful alumni who have taken the entrepreneurial path. I'm excited to launch the first video of our series today. I now invite Kelly Corkery, Entrepreneurship Assistant and NSCC alumni, I might add, to introduce our first video and entrepreneur Joel Llewellyn.
Good morning. As Sherry mentioned, I'm not only delighted to be the Entrepreneurship Assistant for the YES program, but I'm also a very proud NSCC alumni. I graduated from what was then known as the Hotel and Restaurant Management program, as well as the Small Business and Entrepreneurship program. As a result of my education, I gained valuable on-the-job experience and have been successfully employed in my chosen fields of study right here in Nova Scotia. In addition, I've had the privilege of instructing various courses here at the college, such as social enterprise and corporate social responsibility, the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, and most recently, introduction to marketing. I believe that this speaks to how the college fosters ongoing relationships with alumni and truly values promoting entrepreneurial opportunities in the community. I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing Joel Llewellyn. Joel studied culinary arts at Akerley campus and graduated from NSCC in 1996. Joel is the co-owner and operator of Fred, Beauty, Food, Art, and Wet Cafe. With a passion for travel and culinary arts, Joel has traveled throughout North and South America as well as Europe. He is focused on culinary traditions and developed a keen interest in local flavors. Together with his partner, Fred Connors, they have created Fred, an affordable luxury destination in North End Halifax that features a beauty salon, cafe, and gallery that has an emphasis on locally grown and whole ingredients. Joel is considered by many as a pioneer in the North End's revitalization. I'd like to show the alumni video, please.
I'm Joel Llewellyn, and this is my entrepreneurial self. With a passion for community and culinary art, I graduated from the Nova Scotia Community College. I'm Joel Llewellyn, and this is my entrepreneurial self. With a passion for community and culinary art, I graduated from the Nova Scotia Community College and quickly began my career. I dreamed of starting a business in Halifax's North End. Everyone said we were crazy to open up in this neighborhood. But together with my partner, Fred Connors, we turned dream into reality. The dream was Fred, an affordable luxury destination elevating the everyday experience to the extraordinary. With a staff of over 20, which includes other NSCC graduates, we have created a destination like no other in Halifax. We have expertise in the area of beauty and lifestyle, excellence in food preparation and service. With an emphasis on locally grown and whole ingredients in an environment that supports local art and culture, no other place exists like this in the city of Halifax. And now, the North End is one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in Halifax to live and do business. I am a proud NSCC alumni, an entrepreneur. I am proud to serve my community. I take pride in making a difference. When my partner and I decided to open Fred, he had already been a successful entrepreneur, owning and operating a hair salon for 17 years. I wanted to be able to take my talents as a server with excellent customer service skills and my training as a chef at NACC and combine the two to open the cafe part of Fred. Having assisted many other restaurateurs with their own successful businesses, I want the opportunity to open my own restaurant and experience what it would be like to be my own boss. I would have advised myself and other aspiring entrepreneurs to take a course in business through NSCC to really learn the intricate details of becoming a business owner. I would have also advised myself to reach out to restaurateurs in my community as mentors and ask their advice about the practical matters of being a business owner, entrepreneur. Before opening any business, it is very important to do your research and reach out to government agencies and entrepreneurial service providers who are there to help aspiring entrepreneurs. I am very proud to be an alumni of NSCC, and I encourage every single person I speak with who's looking for a career change or is undecided about their career path to consider looking at programs at NSCC. I always speak very highly of the excellent training one receives at NSCC and the fact that upon graduation you are highly employable. I always call any graduate of NSCC when their resume comes across my path. Good morning, actually, to the students and faculty of the Nova Scotia Community College, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak at this Sustain Nova Scotia event. So as you know, my name is Joel Flewelling, and I pledge to speak slowly. I am a proud member of the Nova Scotia Community College alumni. I studied culinary arts at the Akerley campus, and I graduated in 1997. Today, as you saw in the video, today I, along with my partner Fred Connors, own and operate Fred Beauty Food Art, which is located on Agricola Street, in a building that was formerly a Bank of Nova Scotia. For those of you that don't know, Fred is a combined hair salon, cafe, and art gallery, and my role is to oversee and run the cafe. When we bought the building in 2004, the affordability of the area was the most important factor, and we were able to buy a commercial building in the heart of Halifax that we would never have been able to afford in any other part of the city. We felt that the north end of Halifax, where we opened our business, was filled with so much opportunity and there was so much waiting to be done. We were able to build a business that I feel is not only unique to Halifax, but really to the rest of the country as well. And Halifax's North End is now considered to be one of the most desirable areas in the city to live and do business. As well, the affordability of land in Nova Scotia allowed us to purchase property in Bayswater, which is located in the South Shore, 13 years ago, where we started producing food as well as raising chickens, all within an hour of the city. We in Halifax, Nova Scotia have a very young food culture, and there are so many food trends that have already been firmly established in other urban centers that we are now just beginning to see here, and one of those examples being food trucks such as Nomad Gourmet and Food Wolf. Having traveled across North America and Europe, I have seen that one of the biggest food trends happening is the artisanal movement. There are young people opening businesses such as cheese shops, butchers, bakeries, etc., that want to return to a more traditional way of offering food similar to the way their grandparents did. And again, we are only just beginning to see this in our area with shops such as Getaway Farms, Ratino on Gottingen Street, Highland Drive in the Hydrostone, as well as many others. There's a simpatico of people in this area who really care where their food comes from and who are connecting to their community through food with things such as community pop-up dinners and farmers markets. Having the ability and passion to plant seeds and grow food we serve to our customers intensifies the relationship we have with them. Being able to live part-time in Bayswater, we are able to harvest food from our own garden. We are also able to stop at the Hubbard's Farmers Market and purchase things we don't grow ourselves, and within hours, that food is on our menu and served in the cafe. The culture of sustainability is being fueled by young people who want to do things old school, like I said, like their grandparents, with things such as the slow food movement, local community gardens, urban farming, and wink wink, backyard chicken raising. I had chickens in my backyard. When being an entrepreneur, you have to always be in touch with the trends in the world. For me, being a restaurateur, I'm constantly doing research, reading the latest food magazines, reading food blogs, traveling to major cities, generally looking for food trends that are happening in major urban centers around the globe. Now, being ahead of food trends allows me to offer my customers an amazing culinary experience, and it keeps them coming back for more. Something I've always said to anyone who I've helped open their restaurants, I think a very important benchmark for any business owner, especially in the restaurant business, is the repeat customer, of which I am proud to have many. Having customers come back constantly to enjoy the experience of dining in my establishment has allowed me to really get to know my customers and develop relationships with them, which only adds to their enjoyment. Now, one of the greatest challenges of being an entrepreneur is letting go of your ego. In order to be truly successful, you need to be able to step into any given role at any given time. It is also important to be knowledgeable of the many different roles that may come up. In the restaurant business, which is my business, a successful owner will know how to do everything from make a soup, baking a cupcake, to ringing customers at the cash, to mopping floors. And never think you're above cleaning a toilet. I feel that one of the most important parts about being an entrepreneur is being able to guide the people who work with me and help them become better at their jobs. No matter what their role may be within my company, whether it be manager, server, cook, dishwasher, every member of our team is important to the fabric and success of the business. I'm also very proud of former staff members who have been able to learn from their experience working with me at Fred and go on to open their own businesses and become successful entrepreneurs in their own right. This is a repeat from the video, but I think it is very important to state this. In closing, I would like to say that I am very proud to be an alumni of NSCC, and I encourage every single person I speak with who is looking for a career change or is undecided about the career path to consider looking at programs at NSCC. I always speak very highly of the excellent training one receives at the community college and the fact that upon graduation you are truly highly employable. Because I know from firsthand experience the excellent training that one receives at NSCC, and I read that wrong, I apologize. Because I know from firsthand experience the excellent training one receives at NSCC, and whether or not I hire someone, I always call any graduate of the community college for an interview when their resume comes across my desk. Thank you.
And thank you, Joel. And what I might add that Joel didn't say is that we are very proud to have him as an alumni. He's been very helpful and has really developed a strong relationship with the college and our students as a mentor and a friend to the college. So thank you, Joel. Joel, I'd like to invite Andrea Adams back to the stage again to present Joel with a thank you gift, please.
You're welcome. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. The videos that we just showed, those are just snapshots of the actual entire video set. So online, soon to be online, there will be a full suite of questions that were asked of Joel that can be used in the classroom for faculty. So everything from being an alumni to challenges and successes with being an entrepreneur, advice, things like that. So stay tuned for that. As well, we have stay tuned for other provincial alumni videos that will be coming throughout the year. So we started, this is the very first video of the suite. Over the next year, we'll be filming other alumni throughout the province in various geographical regions across our 5 schools of study, representing different cultures and representing different types of businesses. So stay tuned for that, and we'll let you know when those are available. Our next speaker, Chris DeWall, comes to us from Getaway Farms in Canning, Nova Scotia. At this time, I'd like to invite Michelle Yonke, first-year business administration student, to introduce Chris.
Hello. In 2011, Chris opened Gateway Meatmongers at the Seaport Farmers Market. His family owns and operates Gateway Farms. This farm is a small-scale, grass-fed cattle farm in the Annapolis Valley. The farm is one of the main sources for the sheep shop's meats. One of his core business values is sustainable marketing. Waste not, want not. Being a sustainable business is not without its challenges. Chris says that he gets to be a part of a bigger movement, spread a passion, champion a cause, and do something of significance. Welcome, Chris.
I'm going to use a timer because I'm one of those guys that'll keep you here until tomorrow. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys at the other campuses and on the interwebs. It's a truly humbling thing to be asked to come and speak on this topic. I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur until I was asked to come to this. So it was an awfully humbling thing. I've always held the ideal of an entrepreneur in very high regard. So when I was approached to speak at an entrepreneurship event, right? So it's truly a lot of fun and very humbling to be with you guys today. We heard the idea of some people are born as entrepreneurs and some are made.
Has left the conference.
I'm not that bad, am I? I probably wasn't the kid born to be an entrepreneur. The closest I got was finding a Playboy and selling it to a bunch of older kids at school. That's about the only thing I did. Yeah, I mean, maybe, right? I wasn't undercutting the corner store or anything, but, you know, I just didn't find it very interesting, so I sold it off. But that's about as far as I ever went down the entrepreneurship path in terms of, you know, selling stuff off. And I bounced around a lot as a young guy. And I didn't really venture into this, you know, do-it-yourself world until my 30s. When I was in grade 11, I dropped out of high school. And I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have an NSCC diploma. I grew up on the West Coast, and the biggest opportunity there was drugs. So I got quite messed up in my teen years. And so in grade 11, I actually dropped out of school and went to rehab. That was my post-secondary education. And I spent 13 months in a residential treatment facility in southern Alberta in the middle of nowhere. And it was just like Neon Rider or well, remember all those shows? It was that place. We were working on a farm. It was just dudes. We weren't allowed to watch television or read books or even talk to other people. It was a really strict, tough year. It was a program called Teen Challenge, but it saved my life. It really did. Got me cleaned up. And I came from such a good home with such good parents, very normal family, but I was anything but a normal kid. And fortunately, this program came along and we took advantage of that. And so just after my 18th birthday, I graduated this program. And I actually went back to the West Coast and watched my peers graduate high school. So I had to sit out in the audience, and I was a very big class. There were 400 or 500 of us at our school. And I watched all my peers graduate. And I thought, man, I'm never going to amount to anything now. You know, they're up there in their gowns, and there's all that going on, and I'm sitting out here, and what am I? So over the course of the next 12 years, I bounced all over the place. I got married to the super coolest lady in the world who's sitting right there and make her all uncomfortable. I promised her I wouldn't do that, but I never stick to that promise. I got married when we were 20. We were quite young. And so, you know, poor girl, I'm dragging her all over the place, trying all these different things, never really settling into anything, always very restless, always feeling underwhelmed with what I was into. And so from the age of 18, and then we got married at 20, and from the age of 20 to 30, man, I did it all. I was accepted into the RCMP. I was supposed to go to depot. I was in like Flynn, decided not to go, which is probably a good thing. I worked for the Canadian Mental Health Association doing crisis intervention work, so severe mental health issues, people off their medication, in real crisis, real trauma. Fantastic job. Learned so much about the human condition in that. Worked for a television station, ended up producing television with no education whatsoever. You know, weird stuff. And back and forth, apprenticed as a cook in a kitchen and, you know, sorted recycling at a recycling plant. I mean, been there, done that. And all that time, never really knowing what on earth I was going to do with myself. And my wife looking at me saying, what the heck are you going to do with yourself? You know, you're so smart, you're so talented, you need to do stuff. And I don't know. You know, I desperately wanted to make a difference. That was the thing. That was probably the undergirding passion behind it all. I got to do something that matters. You know, the RCMP, I'm going to go do that. The mental health job, I'm going to go do that. always got disillusioned, always ran out of steam. I was that guy, a couple years here, a couple years there, a couple years here. And by the age of 30, we had 3 kids, and I was working as an administrator at a church, and I had gone back to school full-time at 30 to a community college in southern Alberta. And I was going to work on because I had media experience, I was going to get my journalism PR diploma and then go on and get my communications degree and see where I could go from there. So I had kind of committed to this academic road at the age of 30 with 3 kids and a wife looking at me shaking her head, but very supportive as always. And off we go. So I did the first semester, and it was fun. It was a lot of stuff I already knew, but it was neat to be in a classroom setting again and to be in a place of ideas and talking about ideas. And while we got into that, my wife's family is a farming family, and my dear father-in-law has farmed since Noah got off the ark, and he's farmed everything that you can possibly imagine. He's an incredibly talented man, an incredibly noble man with amazing ideals about how food should be produced and how important it is that we have people who are producing good, healthy, clean food that is not compromised in any way. And through a long series of unfortunate events, he was no longer farming, and this was in southern Alberta. And my wife and I watched as Dad became a shell of the man he used to be. You take the farmer off the farm, and that's hard. It's terribly hard. And we saw, the opportunity that we saw was an opportunity to honor thy father and mother. And so we approached Mom and Dad and we said, hey, tell you what, why don't we get into farming with you? We'll sell the meat, you raise it, let's find a place to do that, and we'll go from there. And they didn't take us very seriously at first because they knew I didn't even like getting dirty or even wet. So they said, you want to, this is another one of Chris's, let's bounce around, let's go farm now. No, not this time. Took some convincing, but finally we flew out to Nova Scotia kind of on a whim. We all just wanted to be here. We had no idea why. We didn't know anybody here, no one. So we just got on a plane, flew out here. Leonie threw a want ad on Kijiji. This is a Kijiji testimonial for you. Looking for farm. Okay. Yeah, for real, that happened. It's about 2 months later, we bought the farm we found through Kijiji. We loaded up all our belongings back in Alberta into a 40-foot container. 9 of us between the ages of 4 and 94. Just threw everything we owned in this big steel box, got on a plane, and landed here, and just, let's make a new life. We've got 3 kids, Mom and Dad are with us, brother-in-law's with us, and Granddad's with us, 94-year-old World War II vet. Amazing man. So we're like an old school, weird family farm, right? Well, the story about this farm is it's one of these old legacy farms that is just an amazing place, has a rich history. We found letters in the wall from 1914 from Stanford University. Please find enclosed your payment for a bushel of potatoes of $1.12 or whatever it was. And there's all this rich history to this place, but it hadn't been lived in for a long time. And so there's 2 houses on the farm that were pretty much uninhabitable. So the 9 of us set up tents. It was our own Occupy Farm movement before it got going. And we set to trying to, refurbish these 2 houses into a livable state. And this was in 2009, July and August. Remember the really rainy summer we had a few years ago? Yeah, it was tent city, man. Awesome times. So we set to rebuild these houses, make them livable. And we moved into these houses. And it took us 2 months to do it. 2 months. We had a 3-year-old son who would not stay in his tent at night. We had to lock him in it. I don't know if that makes us bad parents or not, but we figured it was for his best. But it was crazy. I think back now and I think, there's no way. I'm never doing that again. No way. But we did it. And we did it as a family. And all the while we're doing that, we're trying to set up this farm and get it rolling. It's a 500-acre place, so there's a lot of land. We're raising cattle. We have to sell meat every weekend at the farmer's market here in the city. So we would come into the city on Saturday mornings, and we would go into the brewery market when the old farmers market was there, and we would sell down there every Saturday. So we were selling about a side of beef a week is what we were doing. So half of one, right? And we didn't know what we were doing. No idea whatsoever. But we just determined that we were going to see this farm fly, and fortunately for us, there was a bunch of adults and family members that were going to work hard for each other for next to nothing, just to make this thing go. We were all committed to the idea that this farm needs to exist. So here we go. So that was in July of 2009. We just parachuted into Nova Scotia and said, let's just make this thing go. And we have no idea what we're doing, but we'll figure it out as we go. And we did. So fast forward now, over the past 3.5 years, we have a full-time butcher shop that's open in the Seaport Farmers Market, the new building. We're down there 6 days a week. We have 12 sides of beef down there a week that we break up on site, right in front of people, with a tiny little 5.5-inch boning knife, like an old school butcher shop. We have whole pigs in there, we have whole lambs, we do it all like it was meant to be back in the day. And the butcher shop started to come out of our passion for reconnecting people to food, to real food. We started developing such a relationship with folks when we were selling them the prepared meat that we realized that there's a hunger to be connected again to where our food is coming from, especially here in Nova Scotia. There's a movement happening here that Joel alluded to that is, in my opinion, stronger here than anywhere else in this country. But we'll get back to that in a minute. We put this thing together. We started hiring people. We've actually made it possible for one family. It was their dream, young family, young mom, young dad. She wanted to be at home with her children. She wanted to be a mom, and she wanted to be with those kids, and she wanted to raise those kids. That's a noble goal that not a lot of us pay much attention to anymore. And by hiring her husband and paying him a fair wage, giving them good benefits, we made it possible for her to be at home. Okay? We created that job out of nothing. That was not a job that existed before. Okay? I guess that's entrepreneurship, turns out. I had no idea. What I did know was I had kind of fallen into living the dream I never knew I had. I didn't know that I would care this much about food issues, about feeding people, about awesome local cuisine. I didn't know. When I came out here, I was buying my food at the grocery store. I was eating at whatever restaurant. I paid it no mind, in all honesty. And now, having lived this thing out, I've discovered my passion. And my passion is feeding people, seeing people eat together, creating communities, creating local economies, seeing people living out their passions that they didn't know they had. Our butcher, a great guy named Ben, was managing a meat department at a grocery store. That's not butchery. It's the opposite. It's everything that butchers hate, because they want to be out there on the floor with some knives on, cutting. But meat departments don't allow for that anymore. Everything comes in a box and it's vacuum packed, and it's pretty much retail ready. So we hired him on and we made him a butcher, and we designed a space for him and let him live out his passion. And if you're ever down to the shop and you see him working, you'll see that here's a man who's doing what he does because he loves to do it. He loves what he does every day. He's got a spring in his step because he's passionate about it. Now, is he any less of an entrepreneur than I am because he doesn't own the thing or because he hasn't built the thing? No. And this is what I'm starting to learn about this entrepreneurial spirit. From what I can tell, and from my experiences and what I can see, entrepreneurship is living according to your passions. Allowing your passions to dictate to you what risks you take. It's not being foolish, it's not being reckless, but it's this idea that I'm going to live my life according to my ideals. I value this. This matters to me. I haven't had a paycheck in 3.5 years. That's sometimes what entrepreneurship is like. Because farming's really, really expensive. So all the capital goes back into the farm, back into the farm. None of the existing lending institutions will lend a farm money, so we do everything on cash flow. So we make sacrifices to do what we do. But we love it. I'm not sorry. I'm not upset about it. I get to do this. And every once in a while, you get bogged down in the details of following that passion. And the long days, and the long weeks, and the longer months. And you're tired, and you're exhausted, and your fuse is short, and you just don't want to do it anymore. And then something will tweak in your memory, and you'll go, oh yeah, right. Look what I do. Look what I get to do. I get to live according to my passion. What is your passion? Those of you that are students in here, what is your passion? What floats your boat? It doesn't have to be that you go out and start the next big, giant internet, multi-million-dollar swap. Maybe it's making cheese. Maybe it's starting your own plumbing company. Maybe it's hooking up with an awesome plumbing company and working with them and helping them grow and helping them make a difference. Maybe it's being a civil servant. There's entrepreneurship there. If your passion is change, that's a pretty good place to be. Maybe sometimes frustrating too. But I would argue that entrepreneurship is about passion. Okay? Using our story as an example, because it's our story, it's not mine. We're a family of entrepreneurs. No single one of us could have gotten where we have without each other. That's what makes the difference. Okay? And entrepreneurs need each other. Joel alluded to it earlier, the mentoring that exists, the possibilities of connecting with other people. I've made a lot of stupid mistakes that I wish I had run by other people who had the same passion doing what they do. But using our story as an example, I truly do believe that following your passion is the best thing for Nova Scotia. It's the best thing for you. It's the best thing for our communities. There's a striking illustration to me on the farm, and it's a tough story for me. Granddad, 94-year-old World War II vet, he passed away on us in the summer. And became very close to him over these last 3.5 years as we've done this farming gig. And he was a wee little man, and he was an English Army veteran. And he was at Dunkirk, he was at Normandy. He fought through Africa under Montgomery against Rommel, I believe it was. And he went through Italy and Germany and France and Holland and all of it. A true living legend. The stories that he was able to tell my children are invaluable. My children sat at the foot of a man who lived it, and he told them the stories of what it took for us to be this amazing country. And grew very attached to Granddad, and he was always so encouraging and so passionate about seeing us succeed. And he would stack firewood. He was as blind as a bat and deaf as a post, but he would do whatever jobs he could possibly do. And he helped, and he worked, and he struggled, and it was an amazing time watching Granddad be a part of it. And I won't go into the details of his passing, but I was able to spend some time with him before he passed. And my mother gave me the greatest advice I'd ever heard. She said, when you sit down with Granddad, because I was going to sit with him one-on-one, she said, give him permission to go. He was 96. Almost 97, or almost 98. He's getting up there. And he was ready to go. He wasn't in pain, but he was just ready to go. And I didn't want to, because I wanted Granddad around, because he helped me learn about my passion. And he encouraged me in that passion. And so I sat with Granddad, and I did tell him that we were going to be okay. That we as a family, we're safe now. We've got the business to a point where we think we're in good shape. We're going to make it. We're going to be okay, Granddad. You can go. And I cried with him and put my head on his chest. And, you know, you do that stuff. You grieve. I had the opportunity of grieving with him, which is a wild experience. And Granddad passed away 2 days later. I never saw him again. But when Granddad passed away, the family decided to plant 2 trees. And we planted them in the yard of the farm. So there's 2 trees, and we've roped them off and kept the electric fence around it because there's dogs everywhere. And we don't want the dogs to wreck these trees. And every time we go out onto the farm, we see these trees. And it reminds us of why we do these things. Okay? It reminds us of our passion. It's one of those things that reignites us to do what we do. And were it not for Granddad, were it not for the relationships, were it not for the community that came out of the passion, it would be a much more difficult go. And that community just grows and grows and grows. I have had customers come into our shop, buy our product, take us into their home, and cook us that product. They bought it from us, and then they fed it to us. Okay? And so many people will come into the shop and share their successes and their failures and their struggles. You know, here's our little baby girl. We had a little baby girl. You know, my cat died. The ups and downs, the rhythm of life starts to come together in community. And I would contend and argue with you guys here in this room, with those of you watching through the stream, that when we follow our passions, whether it be starting our own business in the traditional sense of an entrepreneur, when it's being the number 2 guy or gal behind somebody who's trying to do that, or participating in an organization or a hierarchy or a bureaucracy, following your passion and sharing that passion, that we start to make community. And that is one of the strengths we have here in Nova Scotia. We have community. People here are awesome. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived in Alberta. They're not as awesome there. You know, that's not PC, but it's kind of the truth. The people here are fantastic. There is a sense of community here. And when people follow their passions, something happens within those communities. Passion is infectious, but in all the right ways. I care so much about what I do that I hope it runs off on you. And then all of a sudden you start to care more about what you do. And there are days when it sucks. When you don't want to be in class. When you don't want to have to get up and go to work in the snow. When you don't want to contend with the bureaucracy and the rules and all the things that come with it. Whatever context you're in, it's not all fun. But don't forget your passion. Passion builds local economies. We started this farm up. It's working. We have all these people working there. We put this shop up. That's working. You know? Joel put the restaurant together. That's working. So now all of a sudden, rather than buying food off a truck that came 4,000 kilometers to bring you your food, you're buying meat that was raised in the valley, that was cut and processed in the city, that was delivered hand to hand from somebody else in the city. The trickle-down effect of these kind of relationships will transform this province. This is our future. Not meat, not food, but us living in community together and working with local economies, and then tapping into those untapped resources and opportunities all around the world together. If one of us goes out there and taps into the 250,000, that's great for the one. But if we all build these local economies and these local communities, and we as a province, we as a place, attack that together, who knows what could happen? So my ultimate dream, my naive idealist dream, okay, this is where everyone tells me I'm crazy. My dream is to see Nova Scotia feed itself. That's crazy nowadays. But think about this. How many people live in this province? There you go. That was very precise. Thank you. 930,000. How many people live in Calgary? More. More. Okay? Look at the resources and opportunities we have here. Okay? The pastures, the fields, the orchards, the ocean. Okay, all that stuff. We can produce enough food here to feed ourselves. That's my passion. That's what fuels me. Okay? Is your passion to see the tradesmen stay in the province? Is your passion to be the best shipbuilders in the world? Is your passion to run the best multimedia company going, to produce the best commercials? Is your passion to change social programs in this province? What is your passion? If you follow your passion, you're an entrepreneur. Okay? That's, to me, what it boils down to. We have had the opportunity to first discover our passion and to follow it. And it's starting to make a difference for us. And it's making a difference for the people we're developing a community with. And it's making a difference for the economy that we're participating in. What impact could you following your passion have? Being faculty at NSCC. There's a bunch of us in here that are. What is your passion when you do your job? And it doesn't mean that you have to go and quit your job and run off and become a ballerina. But how does your passion fuel your job? How does your passion fuel the way you work? Are you happy being a number two? You know, they're the most important people. Number ones don't make it. Not by themselves. They don't survive. We still love you. Thanks for coming. We need number twos. We need vice presidents. We need those people who are willing to stand up and step forward and embrace the idea of an entrepreneur as somebody who follows their passion. We all need it. I need it. My wife needs it. You know, the framing companies need it. The shipbuilders need it. We need people simply to follow their passion. So my challenge to all of you within earshot today, whether you're working an office job, whether you're training in school, whether you're going to become a welder, a pipe fitter, a director, or a musician, or whether your goal is to just go start the next thing, whatever your goal is, whatever your passion is, embrace it wholeheartedly. Let your passion fuel you. Surround yourself with people who will share your passion, who will fuel your passion. And be ready when people try and poo-poo on it, because it will come. But I guarantee you, if we as a province, if we as a society, if we as a culture will embrace our passions, build communities, and watch local economies emerge, Nova Scotia can become the template for something that will be envied around the world. We are posed to do it. The conditions are right. So that would be my plea. Follow your passions.
Thank you, Chris. What a motivational, inspiring story. I would like to invite once again Michelle Yonke to the stage to present a thank you gift to Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
So this brings to close our Sustaining Nova Scotia event. I hope you were inspired by our guests and had a meaningful glimpse into their entrepreneurial world. At this time, I would like to thank our speakers for being with us today. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us both in person and online. I would like to remind those that are here to fill out a survey before they leave, and also at the campuses as well. We hope you enjoyed the event, learned something from it, and may someday consider entrepreneurship as a career path for yourself. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.